Quail hunting in southern New Mexico has its obstacles. Since Clovis man roamed these parts thousands of years ago in the sand country, quail have been on the run.
Today is the opening day of quail season in the state of New Mexico. We are actually hunting quail east of Hagerman in what we locals call the sand country. Primarily the species we're looking for today is we're actually hunting for scaled quail, also known as blue quail. And maybe if we get lucky, we'll actually bump into a bobwhite or two.
It's mid-November in southeast New Mexico, and you've got to be fast if you're planning to harvest quail here in the sand country, or they'll leave you in the dust.
Here, they got track shoes on. If they're in the sand, you're chasing them. And the rocks, maybe not so much. There's a lot of times you'll have to run your heart out to get on top of them. The early spring rains didn't come, which will make the forbs, the weeds that make the insects that help feed the chicks. I think the vitamin A for the eggs for the adults too. We didn't have that. But these scalies, they're notorious for late hatches. We've been seeing some of those.
Today's hunting party is made up of New Mexico Department of Game and Fish and BLM biologists in charge of improving this area for wildlife and sportsmen. Today's hunt will let them know as a group how well they're doing their day jobs.
What we do is we try to come and go to areas that we've worked on, brush treatments or whatever it may be, and go to places where we want to do stuff. And it's also nice to be able to come out and look at those areas together, because there may be some times where BLM guys come out and then we come out later. This way we're actually there together. We can talk about what happened, what didn't happen. You know, is there something that we could have done better, or do we need to try something different? It's just a way for all of us to get together and actually we iron out a lot of projects, get a lot of projects done after these hunts. Usually their wildlife biologist is full of projects after these hunts, so it's a good deal. A lot comes out of this hunt, even though we're out here hunting, having fun. A lot of work for habitat comes from these hunts.
Ernie Jaquez identifies this bag bird as a mature scaled quail, also known as a blue.
You can tell because the primaries are fully grown right in through this area. If it were a young bird, like young of the year, they'd be molting to their mature plumage, and you'd be able to see a definite jump on the inner part of the primaries here. These outer ones would be lots longer, and then there'd be a step down to the other ones for the younger birds. This is a mature bird here. Plus, body-wise, it's considerably larger than the young birds. A young bird would be probably in the neighborhood of maybe 3/4 of this size here for a young of the year bird.
There's miles and miles of driving and miles of walking. George Farmer says road hunting is one of the biggest changes he's seen in recent years due to habitat circumstances.
It's not anymore you get out and walk around and look for them. Sometimes the only way to hunt these scaled quail are to find the covey first and then go after them because of the lack of water. So that's why a lot of times when we're out hunting, we hit the places that we know that have water, because that's usually where they're holding more birds.
Being that it's the first day of quail season, the birds aren't as used to hunters as they will be later in the season. So Brian Novosek explains why you should have choke tubes in your arsenal.
What I have here is I have 2 choke tubes for this over and under gun. In this case, I have an improved cylinder and a modified. I also brought some other choke tubes with me. And what I typically do is, depending on how the birds behave, that's the choke that I use. Today we're seeing that the birds are kind of getting up a little further out. They're spread out as we're hunting. And so I'm using the modified and the improved because they're better for longer distances. Had the birds been holding, I might have used the choke tube that like an open cylinder. Or if they're really far out, we might have gone with a full. So I always bring those with me.
As youth hunters dwindle, the group is also serving as mentors. Derek Farmer has been going hunting with his father since he was 3 years old. Now it's his turn to take aim.
Good job.
There's about 6 of them in there.
What do you got there?
Scaled quail.
George Farmer understands that with the proper training and hunter education and teaching youth hunters that guns are not toys, will provide future generations like his son Derek a safe and successful lifetime of harvesting.
And plus, it's nice when you can come out being a dad and watching your son take his first quail. It's pretty awesome.
And as the hunting party surveys the area for another covey, Russell Fox can't help but wonder what it was like hunting these draws thousands of years ago, albeit much more primitive.
There's times that you get out in these wild places in New Mexico that you can't tell that another human being has ever stepped foot in that spot. There's still those wild places. You'll come to a sand dune and stop to drink some water, and you'll see the chippings of the flint. You'll realize, well, another hunter sat right here working on his weapon, just like I am.
Congratulations, Derek. It's stories like this that help preserve and maintain the tradition of hunting and fishing for another generation. For more information on quail hunting in New Mexico, log on to wildlife.state.nm.us and check out the 2009 Small Game Proclamation.